love to hear from all of you now. Any of your questions, anything you've got for Dorothy, this is your perfect opportunity. And I guarantee you the question you have will be a question that somebody else will have, so please do. I'm going to start off, though, with what's the kind of response that you're getting from this research? Because, I mean, I was watching absolutely glued. I love the way that you're normalising difference, the fact that actually there's areas where one-handed children are actually further advanced and so on with their motor skills. But what's the feedback you get?
I mean, I would almost flip it and I would say, you know, a lot of this stuff parents probably know already. They know that their kids are good problem solvers and they know that they're adaptable and flexible in what they do. But I hope that there's value to us kind of formalising that and getting large samples so we can say, it's not just your child that's good at problem solving. You know, from a group of 100, we can see this happening. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And how unique is this research? I mean, that's a word that's often overused, but, you know, there's a lot of research happening all the time. And we were talking earlier on about, you know, the reach at the very beginning, how different it is now. Yeah. But this research must be making a tremendous impact for families.
Yeah, I mean, so this research is the first major research program of its kind to look at motor development in limb differences. And it's the first research to ever do brain scanning in kids with limb differences, because we know so much about adults with limb differences, but there've been no studies on kids so far. So this is really, it's a world first, and we've presented this data, you know, international conferences, and people have been really blown away by the support that we've had by the community and, you know, what sort of the sample we have, so we hope it's going to be important.
Now, we're going to get through as many questions as you've got, so please keep on firing. We've already got one here saying about speech development. Did your results indicate anything
That's a very interesting question. We have not looked at speech development. You could look at kind of motoric speech development, or you could also look at, I guess, social kind of skills I mean, we've certainly thought about things like resilience and perseverance in these kids, but you can look at social skills more generally, and part of that is language. We do know from other literature that motor skills have got knock-on effects, often on social development and all kinds. So we don't know yet, but that's an interesting question, and we could have a go another time.
And certainly social skills and interacting with others. We heard a little bit from Louise earlier on about how they interact. So I think that would be a fascinating study. So thanks for that question. Dorothy, you've got some work to do there. Is there a comprehensive write-up of your findings? People would love to get more details of it. We were talking about that.
It's coming. So the first paper, which is on the online problem solving, has just been accepted. There are others being written up. We will work with Reach to get that onto Reach websites or resources, both in the format of the paper, but also perhaps in a format that, you know, families can easily kind of understand and look up. So very much so, we'll try and make it all available.
Brilliant. Thanks for answering these questions really quickly, because we've got...
I can see
they're piling in here. This is a really interesting one about... You were talking about adults with limb differences. And, of course, people acquire limb differences from birth and could be at any stage through their life. Is there any research in acquired limb differences, especially in children?
Yeah, so acquired limb differences in adults was really the launching pad for this research, because that was what Tamar, my collaborator, had been working on for years. And what you see is, if you look at the brains of someone who, you know, sadly had a hand amputated later in life versus somebody who's always had a limb difference, those brains look very different. And it's like if you never had a hand, your brain has wired itself up to support that, and sometimes that doesn't rewire happily later in life. So yes, we know that there are differences between acquired and congenital differences. No, there have not been any studies of acquired childhood limb differences. It's something that we could do if we had a larger sample at some point later on, but I think too small for now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating, isn't it? All these different things, and you've got so much work to do.
We do.
Thank you very much for keeping these short, because it really, really helps, because we're going to get through as many as we can. Left and right-handed people, most of us are one or the other. Yeah. So what about the brain? How does it deal with that when it comes to limb difference?
Yeah, that's a very complicated puzzle that we're trying to unpick. And like I was talking to someone earlier, you know, so sometimes the left hand will be missing, but it seems like that child is left-handed. And to me, it's mad to think that it just shows that some things are to some extent hardwired. We don't know we will look within our sample at handedness and what effect that has on the neural wiring. We haven't gone into depth yet, but it's a big puzzle to unpick. That we're
So actually, all you're doing is acquiring jobs here, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take my list away.
We talked a little bit about social skills as well earlier on in terms of things. Is there anything you particularly picked out with that when it comes to social skills? Is there anything emerging?
We haven't collected data yet on social skills. I guess the thing that I'm really interested in or thought of is sort of resilience and things like this. I have a colleague in the psychology department who works on Arctic explorers and resilience in Arctic explorers. So I've been talking to him about that, and I thought it might be interesting to look at in this population, but I'm also absolutely open to suggestions. So I'll write it on the list. You tell me what you think is of interest to you, and we can look at that.
And I did see a question which I didn't ask and they might have thought that I wasn't going to, but I believe this question was about writing and handwriting, somewhat linked to Gary's question about if you're naturally right and left-handed and which limb is affected and so on.
Yeah. So again, I've heard from people who find it easier to write with a prosthetic on their missing hand sometimes. So it's this laterality stuff is just a puzzle that we're currently unpicking. We know that the brains of left-handed and right-handed individuals are wired slightly differently, and it's a really complex picture that we need to look at later. Yeah, we'll try and get a written answer for that one on the website.
This is going to be really hard in a sentence.
Go on.
But do your best, because we've been asked. You gave a teaser about the Third Thumb project.
Yeah.
So could you give us a very quick teaser about what it is and when people might anticipate more news on it?
Yeah. So unfortunately, our Third Thumb team, they did wait at King's Cross for 5 hours yesterday, but we're not as intrepid as some of you, I think. So they haven't made it up today with a demo, but we would love to try that with some people at a later date. It's a prosthetic which gives you an extra thumb to fit onto the side of your hand. So it's not to replace a missing thumb, but it's actually to work in coordination with an intact hand. We've piloted it a lot and shown that it's quite quick and easy to use in a flexible way for adults. We've done it with two-handed kids at a big summer exhibition, and we would love to try it with your limb-different children and see if it's useful to you, how it might be useful to you, and actually we'd like a process of you telling us how it could be adapted and designed, better to make it useful. So, yeah.
Brilliant. And thank you so much for all your questions. We really appreciate them all coming in. Sorry we haven't been able to get to every single one of them, but you're here all day.
I'm here all day.
So please make sure you stop Dorothy and ask her. But we've got one final question, which I think will be something that's pertinent for many people. Is the relationship between the level of limb difference and your findings? So in other words, the difference between missing digits, missing hand, missing arm, and so on.
There is. So far, what we've done is categorized the level of limb difference into 4 levels. So kind of missing a hand, halfway through here, up a bit further here, and then above elbow. And there was quite a big difference between above elbow and everything else. So above elbow use was associated with a lot more mouth use. The other 3 categories did not, from what I've seen so far, didn't seem to make as much of a difference. We're still coding the absolute final sample, and that may change, but so far it's really the above elbow versus anything else seems to be the key cutting off point.
That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's been really fascinating. I'm sure you've actually probably caused more questions to be asked, but I think you're going to be very busy during the break. But thank you so much indeed.
Thanks so
much. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody, Professor Dorothy Cowie. Thank you. Thank you very much.